Hi,
Okay.
everyone. Sorry we took a few extra minutes. Bill and I, were talking to two of our favorite founders. They're all our favorite founders, just FYI. But Chris and James were our demo day winners. And we are really fortunate to have them here. What I'd like to do is talk a little bit about how we're going to run this. We're still waiting for two of the founders. That's kind of a good news because it means that they're busy working on their ventures. So it's a silver lining. We're still waiting for Yi Hung and also Michelle, but they'll be joining us and we'll have that conversation going. This is really a Q&A. It's kind of, we're going to invite the founders to introduce themselves, talk a little bit about it, and then we're basically going to ask them questions to give you a sense of what the accelerator is all about. Bill will give you an overview of the programmatics as well, and then we really want to open this up to you. We hope you all apply. We have extended the application to January 10th. Please apply sooner than later because, as I've mentioned in earlier sessions, we are starting to recruit lead mentors and subject matter experts specifically to the applicants. So the sooner you get it in, the sooner we know all about you and the sooner we start putting that roster together. So quick introduction, if you don't know who I am already, I'm Regina Ryan. I'm president of Harvard Alumni Entrepreneur and the co-director of the accelerator, Harvard Alumni Entrepreneur Accelerator, powered by Pegasus Tech Ventures, which gets me to my partner, Bill Reichert. Bill.
Thank you so much, Regina. So, yes, my name is Bill Reichert, and I am a general partner at Pegasus Tech Ventures, the other half of the accelerator duo here today. Um, so I'm curious how many of you were in one of the earlier sessions, and oh, here's Yi Hung. Okay, Yi Hung's here. Um, so, um, and so I'm guessing maybe some of you were in earlier sessions. For some of you, this is your first exposure. Not sure, but just at least on the screen that I can see, for those of you who have not been in an earlier session, could you just raise your hand or signal if you've not been? So I'm getting, about half have not been, right? Okay. So then for those of you who were in the earlier session, bear with us a little bit. But just to do a quick overview of the accelerator program. So Harvard Alumni Entrepreneurs and Pegasus Tech Ventures got together about 5 years ago around this idea of creating a virtual accelerator for Harvard alums who are passionate, enthusiastic entrepreneurs who have started companies and just don't have the time to fly back to Cambridge for 10 weeks to do an on-site accelerator. So we thought, wouldn't it make sense to offer the kind of support and training and mentorship and network that a good accelerator offers virtually to Harvard alums who are building their own companies? And so that was the birth of the Harvard Alumni Entrepreneur Accelerator powered by Pegasus Tech Ventures. The idea behind the accelerator is to have a regular sessions during across a 10-week period. We're doing, sort of Monday mornings and Wednesday mornings, well, depending on your time zone. To try to get you to block out this time to participate in the accelerator program. We have a curriculum that we have developed that is primarily focused on companies that are moving from startup to scale up. So just to clarify, we're looking for companies that have already launched, They have a team. They're building out the company. They may already even have some revenues. Don't necessarily have to have revenues, but you're beyond startup and you're into this issue of making a transition from startup to scale up. It's a pretty small accelerator. We take a maximum of 12 companies because
Just want another SBIR.
Whoops. Because we want this to be a very, very customized, personalized experience for all of the entrepreneurs. There is a lot of, individual participation, group participation, mentorship, group mentorship, peer mentorship. It's a very intensive, interactive experience. We have a fairly structured piece of the curriculum, and then we have a customized piece of the curriculum that we develop in the course of the 10-week process to make sure that we're hitting topics that are going to be of most value and most importance to each of the entrepreneurs. And then probably the biggest value proposition, from my point of view, that most entrepreneurs find. And I want you to ask our current, our current graduates you're going to talk to let them tell you what they found is most valuable. But one of the most valuable, powerful components that we have is the mentorship program. So the Harvard Alumni Entrepreneur Program has an extraordinary network of mentors. And we assign 2 mentors to each company in the cohort. Plus, we have additional subject matter expert mentors who are available to you to make sure that you are doing everything you can to implement and activate the topics we are discussing into your own company. So we do not want this to be a sort of theory of entrepreneurship series of lectures. We want this to be a very, very practical, hands-on, tactical operation for you to implement those things that will improve and accelerate your success. So that was sort of a very high level. As Regina said, the applications are open. Hopefully, the fact that you were able to find this session means you can find the application, if that's fair. On the website. And then we'll open it up for any questions you may have about the program. But primarily what we wanted to do today was give the floor to some of our extraordinary cohort graduates and have them talk a little bit about their own experience. Obviously, we're going to ask them to praise the program and tell all of you how wonderful it is. But I also am hoping, and I have no doubt they will, chime in on, some of the things that didn't work as well as they'd like, and ideally tips for you to make sure you, one, sort of get the best application in, and 2, for those of you who become part of the cohort, you get the most out of the program. So that's what I'm hoping we're going to get in today's session with our graduate entrepreneurs. Regina, is there something I missed that you wanted to make sure we covered before we hand it over to?
I think you did a great job. So, what's really terrific is we have 3 of our founders. Yihang Zhu just joined us. She also was the winner of our demo day. So you are very fortunate. These are the winners of our accelerator, and maybe among you will be on this call next year as one of the demo day winners. So we're very excited. So let's start. Chris, why don't you?
Regina, I'm gonna pop in one more component that I did miss, which is this point, right? Which is that, and because I want to make sure Yihang touches on this as well. One of the things that we've done as part of the program is connect the program with a program that Pegasus launched many years ago called Startup World Cup. And so one of the things we're doing is giving access to the members of this cohort to a competition to potentially become part of the global Startup World Cup competition, which is now the largest and richest startup competition on the planet, with a $1 million grand prize awarded in a global finals competition in San Francisco. So, yes, Chris, James, and Yihang can all talk about that experience as well. So, but forgive me for that interruption. So, Regina, who do you want to kick this off?
I'm going with Chris.
Okay.
Put on the spot. Thanks, Regina. So, I mean, as Bill alluded to, I graduated last year, and honestly, Harvard AE and the mentors and co-founders and everyone, they've become family for us. So we just competed in Startup World Cup October the 4th. Please ask questions because it's fresh in our mind. I probably have the freshest perspective on that, and it was a phenomenal experience. So I'm a 2000 Air Force Academy graduate. To give a little background, served for 24 years in the Air Force, both active and reserve. I also ran advanced programs for Lockheed Martin, missiles and fire control for 6 years. So I worked on the F-35 weapon systems and interfaced with Skunk Works. But for me, the spark started when I would interface with small business in my role at Lockheed Martin. And I realized that in order to keep a near-peer advantage as a country, we had to reach out to the new, novel, and transformative folks like yourself. Jumped out of Lockheed Martin in 2013, started a defense tech company called Rogue Industries. We've been at it for almost 9 years, extremely successful in rapid infrastructure, manufacturing, and IT. My co-founder at GuardianSat and is Rob Briskman. Rob Briskman started SiriusXM Radio and came to me in 2019 and said, Chris, I've been told you can liberate this technology. We have a problem in space with congestion, debris, and hostile attack. So to put simply, GuardianSat is the only patent-protected company that we build the eyes and the ears for space to detect a lot of the traffic, the debris, and hostile attacks. We reached out to Regina roughly 3 years ago, and we've had this accelerator on our map or our roadmap for success for over 3 years. We applied last year following the award of a National Science Foundation grant. And for us, this allowed us to get to, as Bill would say, a clear, compelling, and credible story. We'd been working for 4 years and had some near-term success in revenue and interface with the folks in the space community. But it gave me the perspective of looking at our company from that 50,000 view to the level that we needed to scale and to build the company. A lot of times you're caught in that fog and friction of the day-to-day activity and meetings and briefings and investor meetings and trying to raise money. But it allowed us to pause for 10 weeks and really get into the business of our business. How do we look to a Bill? How do we look to a Regina? How do we look to an investor? Are we, built to scale? Are we built to be successful? Are we built to pitch? And like Bill says, life is a pitch. To me, I like the hour-long military presentations, but the 20-second, I'm probably over time now too, the 2-minute and the 4-minute, to consolidate and condense everything you've done because you're so close to it as an entrepreneur, that's a big challenge. And I'll get into this more as you ask about Startup World Cup, but it's not a presentation, it's storytelling. And I kind of learned that the hard way too. It's not, rote memorization, it's not a script, it's showing your passion on the stage to that audience that you have a clear message, a compelling message, a credible message, and you will be successful. You will get that out of this course and understand when out of this accelerator. And when you go through it, I always say this, you get in, you get out of it what you put into it. So make certain this isn't just an afterthought, or in the military, we always said an additional duty. please make this your prime focus. And if you do that, and the three of us here as well, we're demo day winners. If you make it your primary focus, you will infinitely grow your business from a scalability perspective. You will have a concise, credible, and compelling message to investors, and you will win demo day and look back. And a lot of people have asked us to do this too. Look what we've done over this past year since we joined Harvard AE. Thanks, Regina.
Wow, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris.
What Chris didn't share is that when we started talking 3 years ago, I advised him that he wasn't ready. So, and it worked out.
No, that's fair. That's a fair assessment. We put it on the map for 3 years, and we kept getting direct feedback from Regina, and we had to reach certain milestones. We were ready last year to do this.
Yeah, and fantastic.
And
Bill?
one other quick point, if I could. Whoops, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to pick up on Chris's point and use this as to make the emphasis that to emphasize that we for those of you who want to apply, we require that the CEO of the company commit to all of the workshops. So Chris's point about you get out what you put in. What we have decided is if the CEO is not directly and deeply involved, no program is likely to have a serious impact. So we want the CEO, whether or not the CEO is the Harvard grad, the CEO and at least one other co-founder or senior exec to be part of every workshop. So we want 2 brains from your company in every workshop. So that's a serious commitment. So, we don't want you to be taking this lightly. So, but thank you for making that point, Chris. So Regina, who's next?
I'm thinking it's James. I'm going in alpha
Good
order.
afternoon. Good afternoon from Germany. My name's James Sutherland, CEO of Autonomo. We were on the Harvard Accelerator program about 3 years ago, and I've just been back through the presentation that I still deliver to VCs to see what has stuck. And the opening slide is still exactly the same. How do we add value to you? Bill and I went through it, I think it was a weekend. It was about a 15-minute meeting that I recorded, and he just nailed down, like what Chris said, just nailed down, how do we add value to who, what's the problem, is it big enough, etc. It was so crystal clear. And so I run Autonomo. I'm the CEO founder. I founded it with the former CEO of one of Germany's biggest supermarkets. And we build artificial intelligence solutions that allow retail stores to operate much more profitably, twice as profitably in practice. At the time, we thought it was twice, and it turns out it is twice as much EBITDA is what we deliver for supermarkets, with twice as much customer satisfaction. So our NPS is twice that of your regular supermarket. And when we were doing the accelerator, these were guesstimates. We thought we could, and subsequently we've now gone and delivered it, and we've delivered it in supermarkets, convenience stores, petrol stations, kind of grab and go Starbucks style locations, hospitals and stadiums. And so I'm excited to be talking with you, and I welcome any questions that you have.
Bill, any reflection
well,
here?
James, just a real quick, James, in terms of your experience in the program, what were the highlights, and maybe you want to mention a low light in terms of sort of surprises or epiphanies or sort of inflection points that you remember, or valuable takeaways. And
So
if you want, any particular sort of struggles or lowlights that you experienced.
Yeah, I've got plenty of lowlights, but subsequently, so let me talk about the mentors. I was given 2 mentors. One is now an investor in Autonomo. So his company, he invested about 12 months after Autonomo, and I speak with him on a monthly basis in London. My other mentor has become a very good friend of mine, and during the program, and we still meet every 6 weeks, and during the program, his insights, because he was coming from far away, Chris talked about it as well. You're so in the detail, you're so wondering whether that algorithm is just going to get to X%. And the conversations that I would have with him were done walking around the park in Hamburg in Germany. And occasionally we would last the full hour, but mostly I would stop the call partway through and say, "Thank you, Alejandro. I've got to go. We're putting this into action." His insights, I don't know how he managed it. Very bright guy, very nice guy. But I think the point I want to make is that the mentors were fundamental in changing the future of the Autonomo business. So both Brook Street Equity Partners and Alejandro, in many ways, we wouldn't have opened the first location when we did, without his input. And on more than one occasion, he was hugely important to my company. The second, I think, is the value proposition and product market fit. Every time I see Bill, I describe to him how we've got product market fit. So this is a highlight and a low light. Bill will drill in product market fit. What does it mean? So product market fit to Autonomo is one, shoppers love it. So we build this we put a network of cameras in the ceiling that anonymously track you through a shop. And when you pick up a product, a can of Coke or a banana, you walk out, we charge you for the products that you picked up. And it pretty much eradicates theft. It pretty much solves the challenges of the struggles with finding frontline retail staff. And so we need it to be really popular with shoppers. And it is. We've been able to demonstrate that. We need the technology to work well enough. We've got a long way to go to improve the real time, so getting a receipt in that second, but the technology is now working. We're growing 10% month on month, and we have done since the program. So we're now into very much mainstream. Average shopper age is 59. It's not cool, sexy, on campus, university, digital native. I really like bagels, and I like my bagels. I like to get in and out quickly with my bagels. And so product market fit was the thing that keeps on resonating back. And how do you get to that point where customers are calling you, where we're offering value, they see the value, and once they've got the confidence to take the step and pay for our services, then it really works. So product market fit would be the second one. I think then, the Startup World Cup. How do you refine your pitch as short and succinctly while still getting across the passion, why you're the right man to do the job, why your team is going to deliver, would be the three things that I took out of the course.
Mm-hmm. Super. Thank you so much, James. So let's get Yihang on stage here. One of the most successful on-stage presentations that we've seen. But Yihang was the demo day winner, the second cohort, right? Am I getting my chronology right? So Yihang, do you want to introduce yourself and Zet and how you're doing and kind of what you experienced?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Bill and Regina. This has been a great info session so far. So I'm Yihang Ju. I am the founder and CEO of Zet. Our mission is to democratize access to information. The way that we do that is if you've ever run out of free articles because you've hit a paywall online, that is a major problem for misinformation, for information access. We license media deals with some of the top media providers in the world through one central subscription so that everyday readers like you and I can read the news that we want. And we've recently pivoted to service not just consumers, but also enterprises. So for example, the New York Times sued OpenAI for shoplifting all of their content online to train their models. So wouldn't it be nice to have a data intermediary that could serve all the major LLMs? so that they could legally and efficiently get the data they need to train their models. So I'm going to focus mostly on the benefits that we received from going through the HAE Accelerator, and they are numerous. Firstly, I am a graduate of Harvard College. I went to a liberal arts school. Majority of my undergraduate education was not in business and accounting, but it was in philosophy and government. So I decided to forego a formal MBA education because of expense, because of time. And what I really appreciated about the HAE program was that the programming is phenomenal. If you take it seriously and if you show up at these workshops, it's a very, very solid accelerator program, and it will teach you not just the basics of entrepreneurship and how to build a company with solid fundamentals, but if you go above and beyond, you're going to learn everything that would otherwise take a year or two in the 10 weeks that you're in this program. So focus, pay attention, do your homework, take it seriously. We learned a lot of things that were not intuitive, thanks to Bill's leadership and Regina's leadership as well. And they bring in experts from different fields to teach you. And they can actually, they're very interactive too. So if you have questions, if you want to talk to them afterwards, you can email them. They really access the Harvard network here, and they have some of the best in the business to come and talk to you guys. And this is not publicly available, right? There's some accelerators like YC Startup School, et cetera, where everything's already online and you can see all the videos, but this is kind of more exclusive. They only take the creme de la creme. So if you get in, it's a once in a lifetime experience, and it's definitely really valuable and beneficial. The second piece is the mentorship and the people. So I think one of the benefits of going through 10 weeks with a very smart cohort of other entrepreneurs and mentors is that it makes you better, right? If you're pitching, if you're getting feedback, if you're asking questions, sometimes within the confines of a startup, especially if you're the CEO, no one's really going to challenge you on that, right? You might not get the kind of feedback that you would want because within your team, maybe everybody thinks in a similar way. It's more insular, but because there's such a diversity of people and faces within the HAE cohort, and because they've seen so many different types of startups, they can give you very, let's say, not sugar-coated feedback that will actually help you. The medicine might be bitter, but maybe the patient needed it, right? And so it's really helpful for us in certain cases. Like I remember even a product workshop where they actually took apart our website and gave us all sorts of critical feedback. And at various points during our pitch, I got some, very useful feedback about, hey, you got to change this part. This part was incomprehensible. This part needs to be tuned up a bit. And that's exactly the kind of direct feedback that I love and appreciate because it makes me a better founder in the process. And so not only was that really helpful to get from the people in the program, but a lot of us stayed close afterwards. We've been celebrating each other's wins, and it's just been really, really nice to see everybody grow past the program and into product market fit, as Bill mentioned. And then the third element is the Startup World Cup. And this is one of the really exciting, I think, benefits of the program. Obviously, there will only be, one lucky demo day winner that will go onto that stage. But the process of prepping for scripting, practicing, and rehearsing and kind of learning more about design elements to figure out how do we tell our story on a global stage has been absolutely invaluable. And whether or not you win the Startup World Cup itself, because it is a global competition, you're going to be competing between 40 and 100 other international players, you get to see the caliber of individual who is on that stage, you get to learn from them. And most importantly, that is not the last time you're going to be pitching. That's going to be a refined time that you will be pitching, but honestly, you're going to go take those learnings onto your future fundraisers and raise so much money after that as well. So highly recommend the program. Please come see me if you have any questions. But Regina and Bill, you're some of my favorite people. And I love what you're doing for entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurship community at Harvard. So thank you so much.
So Yehan, I gotta tell a story, and you can correct me if I get it slightly wrong, but about Startup World Cup. But Yehan, every once in a while you'll hear somebody talk about a pitch competition where one of the VC judges rushes on stage and hands the entrepreneur a check. It's sort of this mythology that you hope will happen, but never really does, except it did with Yihong. So what happened when Yihong when Yihang got off the stage, one of the angel investors who was a judge grabbed me and said, "How do I get to her?" Um, and so I, absolutely fine. It wasn't exactly that day a check, but she did write it. She did, yeah, she did. Okay, right. So yeah, that's just a beautiful, beautiful, case study. So I like to repeat that story, in other contexts about one of the few times in my life that I've ever seen a judge attack an entrepreneur on stage and insist on giving them money. So I don't know. Maybe Chris and James, you had the same experience. I just didn't hear about it. But in any case, so with that, questions from the group here in terms of the nature of the program. Anything else you want to chime in?
Go for it.
So if you just want to, turn on your mic and ask a question, that'd be fine. Or
Hi there.
Good.
Hey everyone, I'm Ming. I would love to.
Whoop. We just lost you. Now you're on mute. Wait. So Ning, okay. There you
Hi
go.
there. Sorry about that.
Okay. Sure.
Hi there. I'm Ming. I would love to learn from the founders how the program may have helped you from a fundraising or intro to potential customers' perspectives, or intro to potential VCs. Would love to get your perspective. Thank you. Oh, also funny story. I actually just met Yihong last night at a Harvard event in San Francisco for a Harvard Business School grad, but she snuck in even as a college grad. So it's a small world, no wondrous world.
That is one of Yihong's superpowers, is that she will not let any door remain closed or any wall remain standing. That is one of her superpowers. So in any case, well, you heard one of the stories about fundraising. I don't know, anybody else want to chime in? James, did you want to jump in? Yeah.
Yeah, so we raised money from our mentors. So the people that we got to know best got to know us best, and they invested shortly afterwards. So it had an immediate direct impact. He's on our board as well. And as soon as you do have one investor on board, then they like to cross-pollinate amongst their cohort as well. I think the main value that we got in terms of investment was just the pitch. So we spent a lot of time on the pitch. And how do we add value? What is it that we do? What are the most common problems? Why are people not adopting this faster? Who's it not for? And it was such a valuable proposition, so that every time, particularly after doing the World Cup, you've got a 4-minute pitch and a 2-minute pitch, or a 2-minute pitch and a 4-minute pitch. And you have to nail it so tight on timing. I can say it in my sleep. I close my eyes and dream it. I just know it inside out. And by practicing it so many times, it doesn't become rotary. It just becomes, you're so confident about any question that is ever going to come up. You've heard it all before. You've done it all before. Bill's already jabbed you in the side. There's a little uppercut there. But what about this? What about that? And you're doing it in an environment where you're there to learn. You know that it's coming with the right kind of intention. And so when you do start presenting, as you will do, I think we did 284 pitches after Harvard. You're super confident, because when we did it with Bill, he would close his eyes and he would listen to your 2-minute pitch, and then he would say, "I think you said something about this, and then you talked about that, and there was this other thing." And so you start to realize what's going through his mind. You think you have nailed it so super clearly. And in he's playing back what he's hearing. And there are these cases, elements where it's just unnecessary. It's superfluous to what you need to say. And so you start to filter down the message until it's so clear. You just drop it in and people can buy into it or not as they choose. And that was really, really useful for me because he was trying to understand. He's been pitched, I don't know how many thousands of times. He was trying to understand, and some things were resonating and some things weren't. And you just realized how simple your pitch has to be in the first instance. Even if you'd cut it back 100 times already, you still had more to cut back. And so that was hugely valuable.
Thank you, James. I don't know, Chris, did you want to chime in?
I do actually. I'll jump on that as well. And the 10 weeks is basically, am I off mute? The 10 weeks is basically from February to May, and as James alluded to as well, you focus and you'll get to know this book, right, Bill? Getting the wow. And I mean, mine's been worn and weathered, and coming into it, with our background, we thought we had a clear, compelling, incredible pitch. And as James mentioned, Bill will stop and he'll pick something out. And for us, it was really challenging because we're talking about space. And then we have to make it resonate and also understandable to individuals, because when you're in solving a problem, you're so close to it. A lot of times you make the assumption everyone is looking at the same problem, and the light bulb will go off and they'll just get it. And the challenge is within 2 minutes and 4 minutes for all of our businesses, we have to boil it down to the most compelling and clear arguments up front to frame the problem, outline our solution, and then why this will make an impact and why it's investable. And what I wanted to touch on that James and Yihang alluded to is we all were winners. And for me, with Regina and Carolina, from May until October, gosh, they became family. I mean, we went through 3 hurricanes in Florida, but we were on the phone. This is one of those accelerators and programs. And our mentors as well, I do want to foot stomp that with Tom Thompson, is we leaned on them for 4 months leading up to Startup World Cup. I believe we almost had, it's not unfair, but an unfair advantage. James said it, we refined our pitch over 1,000 times. So why was that important? Because now as we're starting to raise, our exact pitch deck we use for Startup World Cup, with some modifications obviously that you need, is the deck that we have in our data room. It's the deck that we initially pitch. It's the deck that we've put audio to send out to interested investors. And I don't know if you get that in any other accelerator, but we're really, really focused on this, getting to wow. Read this book. A lot of times you want to say, and I want to say too, because ego gets in the way. No, Bill. No, Regina, we get it, right? And then you'll give a practice pitch to someone to get their reference point, and you're like, they were right, or our mentor was right. Yeah. We need to change that. And the beauty, you see James up in the corner here, James even jumped in, and Yihang jumped in, and they assisted us. And the camaraderie between, cohorts and years in this accelerator is they will also give you an unvarnished perspective about Startup World Cup. Then beyond that, they'll also give you a perspective of what would an investor think if you pitched this, Chris. And we still communicate via email. Like I've said, it's been phenomenal for us. I don't think we would have gotten this in 4 years on our own. And we got there in 10 weeks. And then the service after the sale, right? From Harvard, the service after the sale, meaning when you graduate in May, those 4 months, we were almost on as if we were in an accelerator again, right, Regina?
Yep.
We were talking 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 times a week to refine the pitch.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. And this, this talks to one of the questions in the chat room about the interaction with other founders. And, I mentioned it earlier to be clear, and the founders have mentioned as well, it is one of the key parts of the program. We do these peer-to-peer mentoring sessions where the founders within the cohort spend time sort of listening to one another and sharing with one another and sort of advising one another across the span of the program. And then what we've seen is subsequent, Regina and the Harvard Alumni Entrepreneurs have been great at sort of sustaining and maintaining this community of graduates of the program. And so, once you get into the program, you're part of that community. You can check out anytime you'd like. Never leave. Okay, so but yeah, once you become part of the cohort, you're part of this community, and it's an unbelievably, I think, valuable community. I mean, just again, a subset of one of the most valuable communities, on the planet, that you become part of, and I am just so thrilled that we have been able to sort of perpetuate and build this community. But yeah, as I think a couple of the entrepreneurs have emphasized, your peers are an incredibly important part of the value proposition of the program. And we have made sure that there are plenty of opportunities, both formally structured peer-to-peer sessions, as well as informal opportunities to connect, so that you can get extraordinary value out of your peers in the cohort, as well as the mentors in the cohort, as well as the faculty of the program. So,
can I ask,
Regina, do you want anybody else? Yeah,
I have a couple questions, both kind of relate to our eligibility and whether this is the right time for us. I think it's sort of two categories. Everyone that has discussed their successful experiences here seem to be really tech-driven B2B companies, whereas we're more of a B2C, science-backed, but B2C company. And so curious about kind of the diversity on that dimension. And then the other is, I think one of you mentioned, certain milestones and stages, and kind of what's the best stage to get the most out of this. And I understand it's to when you've sort of validated the model, you've validated that there's demand, you've got the basic product market fit, and you're trying to raise money, which I'm not yet. I'm bootstrapping. So could you comment, or could any of you guys comment on either of those dimensions?
Yeah. Well, I'll jump in on the on the diversity question in terms of
kind of sectors and and
again, as you'll notice, two of the three entrepreneurs here have both a B2B and a B2C component, right? So Yihong Zet has a consumer component as well as a publisher component, and James Autonomo has a retailer component as well as a consumer component. And it's an interesting example of blending, talking to both sides.
Yeah, thinking about kind of marketplaces, like sort of creating a marketplace between the two. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, multi-sided market, whatever, multi-stakeholder businesses, and those are really interesting business models when you have multiple stakeholders. But to your point, in terms of, I think it's as broad as you can imagine. We've had textile, we've had medical devices. And so there tends to be a technology component driver or science component driver. You say your science to consumer. We had a consumer medical device company that had developed a medical device to mitigate the symptoms of hot flashes, for example. And that was, and then we had a veterinary test kit for pet owners. So in any case, it's very, very broad. So there's no particular category that we either restrict it to or eliminate, except maybe cannabis. So I don't think we're going to do cannabis, if that's whatever. But but in terms of stage, we definitely have we definitely have a bias toward companies that have some runway under their wheels, and so have sufficient experience in terms of starting and launching the company that they've got some momentum we can build on. And so I'm not sure exactly where you are, but I hope that's, for you and for everyone else listening in.
We've literally just launched, so we're probably a year away from our application, is my guess.
Yeah. Again, please, submit and Regina may get back to you and say, Troy, we love it. We think it's great, but maybe next year is the right time. Maybe. So a la Chris, right? And Guardian Sat, right? So, this session is not a waste. This might be the right year. Maybe it's next year, but, hopefully we've got you in the community. So any other, questions on the side?
Well, and I should say you have me in the community because I'm a fellow with Harvard Innovation Labs, and I've been mentoring for the last 7 years there on the life sciences track. And I decided, you know what? It's time to, I'm still mentoring like a day a week, but you know what? It's time to pursue my dreams. So, so I have a lot of the basics, but man, I'm so naive about so many things. So hopefully I can get to a point
So
where when those things get bigger and the money gets bigger, I could have a team like you guys kind of helping out.
Well, so Troy, here's a trick. I don't know that I might, here's a trick. If you tell Regina you want to be a mentor for this cohort, mentors get to sit in on all the sessions as well. So
Bill.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Regina. Okay.
You're forgiven. There's a great question in the chat, really for you, James, which is, what was it like to be part of the accelerator advantages and disadvantages from Germany? John is calling in from Berlin.
From Berlin. Okay. So advantages, disadvantages. Disadvantages, I had to get permission from my wife and children to not see them, I think, for 2 afternoons a week, because I think we kicked off at about 5 in the afternoon and it went through till 8 from memory. But actually it was perfect because I got my day done and then I got into the program. So that was one thing. I think the major advantage was as a Brit and in Germany, we would go to these first pitches pre-Harvard and be like, we've got this wonderful product and it does this wonderful thing. And actually, if you extrapolate the numbers, it creates this bigger thing. And then you come back from the program and you're kind of European about it. And you come back from the program. And I remember I flew back into Frankfurt, went straight to Luxembourg, and you're Americanized. You're like big. You can't believe it because you're rubbing shoulders with all of the investor VCs in San Francisco, and the world is their world. You've realized you've tapped into this whole VC world. It's like big and bold, and it's a $2 trillion market opportunity, and so it just changes your whole demeanor from European, British, Berlin, Hamburg, whatever. Berlin's slightly different, but it's similar to London. I spent a lot of time there. To massive, and so that for me was illuminating. I didn't know what I didn't know before I started. And I only could have learned it by going through the program. So for me, it was perfect.
Great. Terrific. Stefan, you want to ask your question? Good to see you.
Good to see you, Regina. Always good to see you, Regina. And yeah, once you're in any HAE program, you're in for life. It's kind of like the mob, but in a good way, not a bad way, in a good way. Here's our situation. We just got accepted into a $100 billion infrastructure program to provide our technology and expertise. It's a 10-year program, so it's recurring revenue over that time. We also are negotiating our first term sheet for our seed investment. So my question is, I love everything I've heard about the program. I'm just worried as we get into this that my time sort of working on these projects that are going to develop early traction and revenue for us, as well as ongoing discussions I'm having with investors, other investors that are being brought in by our lead investor, will draw away from the program. I don't want to do that. I want to be fully committed along with my chief strategy officer. We have a complete team. We have an advisory board. I mean, I don't know, Bill and Regina and the entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurs who have gone through the program. Is this an unusual situation? Am I sort of caught in the middle here? Like, what would you say?
Well, yeah, everybody is crazy busy, and every once in a while, it has happened that that a CEO entrepreneur has had to miss a session, because of an urgent alternative. That can't happen too often. But if you just don't think you can block out this time, if you think you're too much in the thick of it, then then that's going to be a problem, because it's not just that you're going to miss out. Part of being part of this program is you have an obligation to your other cohort members.
Mhm.
And so it's, it is, and we select for that. We select for entrepreneurs who are going to be good parts of the program, not just entrepreneurs who need the support. So there is a little bit of that. There's a little bit of that ethos in this program. So please, if you're going to apply, please, make sure that you can fulfill the commitment to the program. So now the question is, what is the structure? It's 3 hours Monday, 3 hours Wednesday, and then we ask that everyone do a session. It doesn't have to be Friday, but that everybody do a session each week with their mentors to, take the material that we've been working on and see how you can activate it and integrate it into your own business to make sure that it sticks. It's not just a bunch of theory, right? So it's a big time commitment. That's a big time commitment. And so, we want everyone, I don't want to scare anyone away, but we want everyone to take it seriously. So the Monday, Wednesday workshops are at a fixed time. So it's 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern time, right, Regina?
Yeah.
11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern time. So that gives the Californians a chance to get up early. It gives the Europeans a chance to work late. And unfortunately, the Indians and the Chinese suffer as a result. But that's, that was the best we could do. So
Could I
answer the question?
could I make an
Yeah.
could I just say something to that, Stefan? The difference between this and Harvard Business School is you're not doing someone else's business case, it's your own business case, and it's in real time. Whatever shit you have on your plate on that day, that week, coming up, whatever is the stuff that you're resolving right now. It's not a theoretical exercise in wouldn't it be wonderful, like if I could prepare a pitch deck? I'm building a business. It's critical to me. That means I need to win customers. It needs to mean I need a runway that's long enough for me to be able to deliver, etc. There's nothing that you're doing that is like business. It's not, but you're not back at business school. You're solving real day problems. And because you're doing it with the other experts. The second thing I would want to say is, and I don't know whether is Bill and Regina have built businesses themselves and they've been successful. Bill's story about how he stepped into an organization, simplified, cut down, it's still I still remember that, and it still comes back when you're thinking, if we just did this other thing, what if we say yes to this customer and we just build this other feature? So there's so much that you get in the moment, but you have a responsibility to them too. They're not doing it for money. They're doing it to give back to the ecosystem. Bill's not even, Bill, are you Harvard?
Yeah. I'm Harvard undergrad, Stanford.
Okay.
Graduate,
It's Stanford. Okay, so they're just giving back, and so there's a kind of a duty of care to them. You become part of the family, but they want to see you succeed. That's our responsibility back to them.
Yeah, no, I get that, James, and thank you for that. It's more of a capacity, it's having to understand what our capacity needs are going to be for 2025 and in the short term, and balancing that with the commitment to the program. Obviously, if myself and my chief strategy officer come in, we'll throw ourselves into the program. That isn't the issue. The issue for us is we're taking in outside money. There's going to be expectations on how to use that money. We're part of a very, very large international development project, and with some serious people from the World Bank, the Gates Foundation. We can't mess that up, or our reputations, we're screwed. We are absolutely screwed. So it's being able to balance that with our capacity, with whatever capacity we have now that we need to add during that time that we're in the program, to make sure that the mothership is running and that everything is going well on that end of it, while we're working through the program and continuing to build that value by what we learn in the program. That's sort of what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Stefan, I mean, again, the plus side is that if you're in the program, it gives you access to a bunch of resources who could help you address your very specific daily challenges, James's point. And so that's the trade-off. So you get a whole bunch of resources that may be directly on task. The flip side is there's a cost to that, and that's, a certain amount of time per week, right? So, you need to be the judge of that. We can have a further, detailed discussion offline on that topic, but it's a good point. And my apologies, I have to jump. I think Regina, you can stick around, and I'm hoping, anybody else who could stick around. But gang, hope to see you on the other side, on the application side. Thank you all so much for joining. And again, I encourage you, take advantage of this astonishing resource that Harvard Alumni Entrepreneurs is making available. So thank you so much.
Bill.
Okay.
Talk soon. I can hang around for a little bit. I don't know if our guest founders can, but Stephen asked the question, are there other opportunities outside the accelerator? Right now, we don't, not at this level, but what we do have is this academy program. Right now it has 22 courses, 14 of them are in a subscription package for a short period of time that goes from supply chain to digital marketing. We're going to be adding an IP course coming up, and that may be a way to leverage knowledge. We are considering a second accelerator type program, but we're not there yet.
Right. Thank you.
And just so you know, to add a couple of things, we take a team approach. So if you have a team of 4 or 5, they're all invited to participate, to be in the workshops, to take the kind of the curated curriculum that happens after the first 6 weeks. So we want a team involved. So it's not just the top two. If you have someone in technology, we have a whole section there. We have one of the best pricing instructors going. So when you're trying to figure out pricing, that's the session your team member needs to be on as well. So I'm happy to take other questions. Let's see, I see 5 new messages. No, hi, Bill. Thanks for asking that question. No, it is, applications are now due January 10th. What happens after that? We're already starting recruiting mentors. This is our bread and butter. The applications we have now, we've put into categories and going out actively finding the right people in those industries. What will happen is there's a 3-tiered process. The first tier is all applications are reviewed by a panel of judges. Out of that, there'll be 20 or 30 that will be invited to an interview. That interview is conducted by me, and there are stories to be had with our founders about how those interviews went, James. And then that from that, there's another group of judges that review it along with Bill, and we select the cohort up to 12. We then use all of the interviews in your applications, and we sent it to our group of mentors, and they review it. And then they rank each of the selected ventures to see if they have the skills and tools and availability to serve. And then we give you that list, and we do this matching, and it works out. I have to tell you, I think everybody on this call has had really fantastic lead mentors. And as James mentioned, one of his invested, and actually it happened for maybe 6 or 7 out of the 3 cohorts, the lead mentor invested. And then we kick off the first week of March, and we end the second week in May. Other questions?
Yeah, I've got something. As of the demo day winners haven't won the World Cup yet, and we thought Chris was going to be the one. We thought we didn't.
I let everybody down, James. I apologize.
No,
You did not let
No,
anyone down. It's quite the opposite.
It's
like
competitive. Yeah.
We, as the Harvard, we should be winning that. Everyone who comes through is strong. So the next cohort, it's on your shoulders to take it through, win demo day, get across to San Francisco and win that. We'll all be cheering you on.
yeah. And it is a fantastic experience, and it is. I know we're not on stage per se, but we're feeling it when we see those presentations on this global stage. It's amazing. And Chris is right, we stick like glue up until and after, quite honestly, the whole accelerator. So that's a real value add, both for you and for me and the rest of our team. Well, if there aren't any more questions, I will wrap it up to say, please apply. There's 2 ways of looking at it. One, to have the experience of putting down on paper what your venture is all about. Get it evaluated, and hopefully you make the cut. But also apply because you're ready for this journey. It is an amazing experience. It's intense. There is no question about it. But there are so many rewards. The application needs to be made by a Harvard alum who is the founder or co-founder. We ask that all applicants to the accelerator become members of Harvard Alumni Entrepreneurs. It is the only cost to the entire program. It is equity free, 100% free, other than the membership. And you'll have access to a group of 50 top experts, investors, thought leaders to help you succeed. And everyone is a volunteer. So it's a great program. So Chris, Yihang, James, any last words?
Gotta
Just-
apply.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. You just have to apply. And as far as, Bill's comment, everyone's busy. I mean, make the time. When you apply, make the time. We just integrated it, like James said, into our daily schedule. The one thing that Regina alluded to, I mean, we had 4 or 5 team members from Guardian Set involved. That allowed us to juggle some of the schedules at times, and Regina was flexible with that. And the beauty of that too is then Harvard gets to know the rest of your team as well, right? So Huey and Rob and David, and they're integrated into this program as well.
One of the questions that just came in from Bill is how does our accelerator differ from the iLab? That we are a concentrated program. My understanding of the iLab is not as concentrated, but this is about concentration of expertise development, getting you on a path to the next level, and allowing you to, and this is what James was talking about, work on real problems in real times through the accelerator. We're global. It's virtual. So if you're sitting in Berlin and you want to participate, you don't have to fly into Cambridge. And also we take a very global approach to where you are in your journey. I think that's also what the iLab does, but because it's such a concentrated time, I think that there is a value add to that. All right, that's one more question. Oh yeah, iLab is for undergraduate. Yeah, they do have an alumni component there. Thank you, Stefan. But that alumni has been new to them. We are solely focused on alums. That's our mission. All right, James, any last words, Yihang?
Good luck. Yeah,
Good luck.
good luck. Good luck with what you're building. It's a pretty brutal journey. No, I don't know. You may be further along than I am, but it requires serious resilience. You need good people around you. Good luck in the application to this, and good luck in your business.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all very much. I expect to see your applications coming in. Reach out if you have any questions. It's an exciting program, and I mean, these 3 founders are spectacular, and you are too. So please join.